Dry periods or dry stretches or spells when there is no rain and crops are dying. Those are not the same things as a drought. Good day. Thank you for joining us for this episode. It's 115, episode 115 of the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. Winnie Anderson Brown and Desmond Richards are our regular commentators, and they are here with us. Now, you might have seen on the screen some other faces, but you'll hear about that as we go along. Let's hear now what Winnie is about this week.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. This week, about the robots. Have you ever heard of a robot with citizenship? We'll talk about that later.
Okay, beautiful. Desmond, let's hear what you're on about.
I want to hear about those robots who are citizens. I want to hear that. But yes, I am going to talk about the water, the absence of water. You know, as I have been saying on this program and on other platforms.
All of a sudden, we're not hearing you. Can you say that again, Desmond? We lost you for a second there. Can you say that again?
Yes, as I said, as I have been saying on this platform and other platforms, that there are hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans who don't have access to water. And with the drought, the situation has gotten worse. Yes. People don't have water is life, and we don't have water. And I also want to spend some time talking about some governance issues.
Okay, beautiful. We'll come back to you, Desmond. So let me just start off myself on water, because you have pitched the water so often. So many people have commented on the water to me, and I am now understanding even more about the difficulty that some of the people are facing now because of this dry spell. The term drought is used quite loosely in Jamaica, and it's used as a crutch often to suggest that we are helpless. In other words, we are having a drought, so there's no water. Now we know that lots of people, we all know that the more a country is dependent on nature, or put it another way, a society's inability to overcome the vagaries of nature is a clear indication of its backwardness and its underdevelopment. Frankly speaking, if farmers can't get water in dry periods, they and their families will reach towards poverty. The country's attempt at development will be shackled, and so on. We know that all. And we know that for a long time, people have not had water in Jamaica. And we know that in many places, they have none at all, or sometimes. Now, the people in the capital city, and in Montego Bay to some extent, have fairly good water systems, fairly good. They have water disruption from time to time, rationing of water and so on. But they often don't understand the difficulty that others face when for days they can't get any water in their pipes. They can't take it for granted that they're going to get up and be able to go to the bathroom or flush their toilets or whatever. Now, listen to this quotation, which I'm going to read to you. And Joshua might be putting it up on the screen. The country has been in the throes of an extended drought since last year, which has forced water restrictions, destroyed farmers' crops, driven food prices up, among other challenges. Now that is from the Jamaica Observer. The report also said this, quoting the minister now. I therefore cannot overemphasize the need for all Jamaicans to conserve on their use of water and prepare for the next drought period. My colleagues, our viewers, I don't even want you to guess. But listen, you may not be surprised to learn that was from the Minister of Water, Land and Environmental Change, Robert Pickersgill. Robert Pickersgill. And that was in the Jamaica Observer on Wednesday, October 29, 2014, nearly 10 years ago. Frankly speaking, it's a regular story with no real advancement. It's a dry period. If the dry period is regular, and if these dry periods are regular, it's not a drought. But we will come back to that. We will come back to that. So I want Desmond to take the speech forward because I'm going to go into the food side of water. So Desmond, over to you.
Yes. Well, as I have said on this program and on many other platforms, that the country has a very serious water problem. And my listeners and viewers, I want them to know, those who don't know, that this water problem is very, very old. It is not a problem that starts since the JLP is in power. We have been having this water situation in Jamaica from the 60s. And I can say from the 60s because at that time, I was born in the 50s, but in the 60s is when I start using my senses. Now, what we face is not that the country is short of water. We have all the natural resources, the natural resources we have here, and we have water. What has failed is that we have failed to distribute the water so that people can have access to water. That is what we have failed. And this is the responsibility and the failure of government since independence, right? I know of communities where whenever the dry period comes around, they have to go as far as 10 miles to get a bucket of water, right? Now, as we speak, in places like Kentire in St. Andrew, East Rural St. Andrew, they don't have water. Places in St. Ann where this program is being broadcasted from, no water. St. Elizabeth, no water. Now, what are we going to do? What? The government, and what the government has made some announcements that, okay, they have allocated $150 million. Now, I can tell you that that is not enough to address the issue. And what the government has done is what previous governments have done. Whenever we are facing this sort of water shortage, they come up with some short-term measures. What we want is some long-term measures, and we want a start for it to be, yes, a start so that we can have over the period in the future where the people of Jamaica can have access to water. We want the government to start a serious program to address the water situation in the country. Yes. And, you know, in some communities, for example, in Portland, residents there told me that water is distributed along political grounds. So if the water truck come and it don't go into the PNP areas. No, we can't do that. Those are issues that we must avoid. And I am appealing. We have a new administration at the local government level. I am appealing to the councillors to turn their attention on a very serious note and try and get some programs that will address the water issues facing the country. I have some governance issues that I want to discuss with viewers and listeners, but I will wait a little
Yield.
later
Thank you for
down in the
yielding,
program.
Desmond. And I'm going to come back onto that water issue. But Winnie has been looking at citizenship, and I want us to I want her to tell us about it. Before I go to water, and that water, Desmond, is a critical issue. As I said, you have been raising it almost from the start of this program, and I'm glad for it. And I'm coming back to it. So Winnie, can you please tell us about citizen? What's her name? Go ahead, please.
Sophia. Okay, I too will speak on something on the water because it affects all of us, but I will go to Sophia. Yes, robot Sophia. She is a citizen, and you notice I said she because it's a female humanoid robot. Get used to the term humanoid. This robot is a citizen of Saudi Arabia. And don't you think it is since 2024? That has been from 2017. So it is not new. And I'll tell you why it is so important to pay attention. Most times when we think of robots, we think of the mechanical ones, the ones that do manual work. But this is a robot that has spoken at UN conventions. This is a robot that can read medical records. Also a robot that is able to read expressions and respond accordingly. She's on the screen. You can look at Sophia. She's a Saudi Arabian, and she has spoken at a number of international events. She has also taught. This robot is a very special robot. So when we think of robots, let us remember Sophia. And with artificial intelligence, there are so many things that Sophia can do that human beings are already doing. So when we think of Sophia as a citizen of a country, is that ethical? That's a question that we don't need to debate now, but it's something you can think about. And of course, you can read more about Sophia, who can read medical records and give medical advice based on what she has read. Now, being a part of the UN, she is an ambassador to the United Nations. So that kind of information is important when we think of robots. And couple that with the fact that everybody knows about Amazon. Jamaicans are shopping on Amazon as well. But did you know that 750,000 robots work at Amazon? They have replaced 100,000 human beings. So when we think of robots, let us remember Sophia, and let us remember that the number of humanoid robots, that number is growing exponentially. So how we respond is important.
All right, so Winnie is frozen there. I don't know if it's... Winnie, what did you say about the Amazon? How many robots have replaced 100,000 workers, you said?
750,000. Did you hear
Workers
that?
have been replaced by how many robots?
100,000
Yes.
robots.
Replaced by how many robots?
750,000 robots.
Yeah, no, the reason I was asking that is I was trying to see the man for robot ratio of displacement.
Okay, so the robots can do much more than human beings can. So it is important. Why Sophia is important, and not just the mechanical ones that work alongside human beings. If you look at Sophia, she looks like a human being, and she speaks and she teaches and she does all kinds of exciting things. You can read more about Sophia. It's important for us to understand the kind of world that we're living in. And remember, this is, yes, she can...
But Sophia has to be programmed, yes?
She is.
Sophia
She
has to be
is.
programmed like a human.
That's a speaking machine. So that tells you
Okay.
where
Okay.
the world is. And this was from 2017. Sophia
Oh.
was created. She's 7 years old.
Thank you.
That's Sophia there.
Thank you, Winnie.
Yes, you're welcome.
7-year-old Sophia. She looks like a big woman though.
Yes, she was born
Woman.
big.
All right. So thanks, Winnie. So I want to go back now to the water issue. Listeners, viewers, let's see if we can agree on something. Desmond raised one of those issues. And I think I want to put down these issues that we can agree on, because these are not in dispute. Jamaica has enough water and gets enough rainfall every year to supply everybody, including the farmers on the island with water. That's just, there's no time to wait. We don't need to waste any time in discussing that. It's just true. In many parts of Jamaica, water remains difficult to access and scarce. Number 3, thousands of people cannot plan for, or indeed cannot have a shower every day because there is no water in their pipe, and in some cases, they have no pipe. Many farmers watch their crops dry up and die every year because they have no running water or irrigation system water. The water is so far away, they can't go catch it with buckets and bring it to the farm. We can't, and my 5th point is I think we can agree on without dispute, we cannot go on like this. Or a friend of mine says, of course we can go on and stay poor and miserable. Now, out here in the countryside in St. Anne, where I am, we're in the grip of a dry period. It's been going on for weeks with little or no rain to varying degrees. The effects are mounting and are devastating. I've gone well beyond where I live, up to parts of Clarendon as well, and parts of Trelawney. And let me tell you, oranges are no bigger than limes now. Well, limes you can't get. Melon sizes have decreased significantly. Carrots being pulled now, tomatoes being reaped, wilting pak choy, lettuce, and so on. They're all coming in very small. Right now, though, vegetable prices are at near record low in the market because of a good crop that came in last month. Now, those who watch prices know that this is a normal low price swing after the high year-end prices. But it's in the next 2 weeks to a month that you'll see prices doubling as this dry spell bites and what's in the ground now being affected comes to market, in the ground or on the plants. Now, it's bad enough for you not to be able, those people who have proper pipe system, those people who get proper water from NWC. It's bad enough for you not to be able to get a shower when you like because the water lock off is on or it started at 6 o'clock or whatever, or to wash your plates when you're necessarily right. That's bad enough. It's worse for the farmers. Now listen to Denton Alvaranga, He's a trained farmer, actively involved for decades, and is first vice president of the country's premier agricultural body, the Jamaica Agricultural Society. Mr. Alvaranga runs farms near where Winnie is in Clarendon, North, as well as Central. Let's hear Mr. Alvaranga. Just give him 2 minutes, please.
Very, very serious. I cannot.
And he's talking about his water situation.
Recent times, seeing it as serious as this. When one looks at the Rio Mino, which is the main river that that we have here in Clarendon, and its tributaries, the Pindles River, and really, that amount of water is not available at this time. I went up in the hills last week. And on my farm there, I used to have a little pond that there's always water there. And the other farmers use, to pump their water on their farms. Nothing, it is dry. There are some other farmers I saw there planted, they plant vegetables, cabbage and so on. And when I went there, sir, last week, the farmer just walked away and left it because the pond, the gullies were dry. And they actually took up their pumps because there was nothing there. So it is, I've never seen it like this. It's not looking good, sir. I know that there's quite a bit of black tank, there's some amount of that, the mini drip irrigator system. But then again, there's no rainfall. There hasn't been any much rainfall for the last 5-6 months, so really, those systems, not really very effective right at this time because there's very little water to go into them. Mm-hmm. But on a larger scale, I know that in the plains, and like down in the plains, there, and in central Clarendon, there are some irrigation systems where water is still, there are some sources of water there. But the fact is this, sir, that 80% of the farmers in Jamaica, we depend on rainfall. So it's not many farmers who really can avail, themselves of the irrigation water. So there's really a challenge here because it's pretty expensive. I'm going to put it this way: if you should employ all the practices that are required to produce a crop, fertilizer, land preparation, everything, and if there's no water, there's no moisture in the soil, the nutrients are of no use to the plant because plants require the moisture to really absorb the nutrients. So it's a very, so really, without water in the soil, without nutrients, the yields will be very low. And also farmers, I said earlier that 80% of our farmers depend on rainfall. So many farmers, they can prepare land, but they can't put in anything. And those are many crops that are in, like your pumpkins and your vegetables and so on. Those yields will be severely affected because they need water to bring them to production. So certainly this could have some impact on food security. Certainly, especially, our vegetables, our legumes, our vegetables, our cereals and so on, certainly some impact will be there. Things are very, very serious. I cannot recall in recent times.
That's Denton Alvaranga. He's the first vice president of the JS. He's a farmer out there in Clarendon. He was just saying he had never seen it like this. And he was talking about the limited water supply system. But he's also saying that 80% of the farmers depend on rainfall. That is an index. That is an index of backwardness. All over this country, farmers can speak to that harsh reality to a lesser or greater extent, what the water situation is doing to them. But let's make this point again. Dry periods don't necessarily mean droughts. We shout drought all the time as if that makes us helpless. As if we can plan, we can plan, people can plan for dry periods and put on better system, make irrigation water available to farmers at a cheaper cost. Don't just take those nice stories, people, about which MP or which councillor or which minister understand the pain of farmers. This has been going on just like too long. As Desmond said earlier, it's not in the last 5 years, not in this last administration. It's been going on for years on end. This is the 21st century, people. The failure of rains to come when we want it should not trigger in us a reaction such as befitting of the first Jamaicans, the Keanas. No, it should not be. And that's my comment on the water situation. And I hope that we have a different approach, not just arranging some trucks. And by the way, the latest thing in some part of Jamaica, buy a truck, water truck, and get rich. But Desmond, I'm back over to you now. And before I just ask you to come back in, Desmond, because you have some governance issues, I just want to mention, I don't know if Winnie is going to mention them, but we have Alan. We see Alan commenting. We're not sure we're going to get to the comments. Ruby is up there. Anne is there. Kian is there.
Say what Alan is saying. They need to make more reservoirs in the communities. That's what Alan is saying.
Yes.
That's his contribution. They need to make more reservoirs. And he also wants to meet Sophia. Yes.
Okay. Sophia doesn't meet men, does she? She's not a dating robot. I don't know.
No, she's a
Desmond, over to you.
businesswoman. She's a businesswoman. Okay.
Desmond?
Are you back to Desmond?
Yes, we're back. Desmond, your time.
Well, one of the things that we must point out, I must point out, is this, that the problems we are facing, our Jamaicans are having with water right now, is a clear example of poor representation by our political representatives over the year. Poor. And what we want, we would like the political representatives, and as I said, this new set of councillors, I would like them to take it up as part of their duty, because it is part of their duty to chart a new course for Jamaicans to have access to water. Now, right now, I am told that, for example, in Westmoreland, I am told that political representatives are earning big bucks out of water trucks. Right? Now, one of the things that we have failed is that our governance system over the years is that the politicians, they do everything to secure their own interest. So, for example, they are among some of the biggest importers. And
Desmond, as you're saying that, that's what I was mentioning about someone saying to me, people don't know the slogan is buy a water truck, get rich. And I hope that we'll see some auditing of those water truck programs and those water truck money that has been set out to parish councils in particular. And also MPs are going to get some to help with water distribution.
Yes. But as I was saying that over the years, our political representatives.
10 seconds before we go. Go ahead, just finish up. Go ahead.
Yeah, our political representatives have made sure to represent themselves instead of representing the people. And that is one of the reasons why we are having the water problem. And you mentioned earlier, Franklin, the impact it is having on the farmers. Of course, but we are not serious about agriculture in Jamaica. No, we are not serious. We are more focused on spending scarce dollars and importing food. Our political representatives have let us down.
All right, thanks, Desmond, and thanks, Winnie. I just have to mention that last week we made a criticism of some media in how the water situation was being covered. I must congratulate TVJ. They did some good work in the last week on the water issue. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to those who commented during the podcast. Remember, you can still see the podcast by going to the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast YouTube channel, and you are still able to comment. On behalf of all of us, special thanks to Joshua Black for the technical support. I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then.